word abbreviation. So we are given an array of non-empty strings, and then we need to generate minimal possible abbreviations. And we have some rules. So we need to begin with the first character, then the number of characters abbreviated, followed by the last character. And then if there's a conflict, we need to abbreviate the word some more until we have one unique abbreviation for each word. If that's not, if we can't, then we just want to return the original words. Then finally, if the abbreviation doesn't make the word shorter, then we want to keep it as the original. So that's the question. So for now, I'll get the inputs, then we can walk through the rules to make them much more clearer. So for now, I'll just do this, and then I'll do this. So here, I'll increment my visual, and then I'll also wrap them. So for our inputs, yeah, so we have our inputs and also our output. So we can start. So the first rule was we need to begin with the first character and then the number of characters abbreviated, which followed by the last character. So in this case, we have the word like. So we begin with the first character. The first character is L. Then we need to follow it by the number of characters. In this case, we want to remove I and K. So the number of characters is 2. And then finally, we want to add an E. So that's the first one. So that's the first rule. And then the next rule is if we have any conflicts, that is if we have more than one word share the same abbreviation, a longer prefix is used instead of only the first character until making the map from the word abbreviation become unique. So like here, for example, if you see the word interval and internal, so you can just take them. So here we have interval. So for interval, if we use the first rule, we will find it's I, then 6, because there are 6 words that we want to remove, and then we want to have L, and then we also have our internal. So for internal, it will be the same, it will be I, 6L. So in this case, we have a conflict as 2 words share the same abbreviation. So if that's the case, then what we want to do is we want to lengthen, or we want to reduce the number of words we remove. So that is, we want to lengthen this I. So you don't want it to only be I, but you want to add N to it. So if you were to add N, now we will only remain with 5 words. So instead of having 6 here, we'll have 5. And then we want to do the same for this one. And then we notice that they still have the same conflict. So since they have the same conflict, we want to now add T to the first part. So when we add T, now we only remain with four of the characters. So here we change to 4. And then the same is true for this. When we add T, we remain with 4. So here we change to 4. So the abbreviation, there's still a conflict. Then we want to come to E. So when we come to E, we want to add E there. Then here we also want to add E. When we add E, we only remain with 3 words that we'll remove. So here we do 3, and then here we do 3. There's still a conflict. Then we want to come to R. So in this case, if we add R, we check how many words do we have. So right now, we have like 2. So if we add R here, we'll remain with 2. And then here, if we add R, we'll also remain with 2. We still see that we have the same abbreviation. So that means that there's a conflict. Then now we want to increment it. So here, when we increment V, so we'll want to increment V. And then also down here, so when we increment V, we notice we only remain with 1. So you can just come and we put 1 here. And then for this one, when we increment it, we get N. And then here, so at this point, we see that we have different abbreviations for the letters. So this is okay. So we can come to the final rule, which is if the abbreviation doesn't make the word shorter, then keep it as original. So in this case, if you check this one, the length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's the same as this. So in this case, we want that abbreviation not to be have the number, but to be original, because it doesn't make it shorter. It just makes the abbreviation the same letter of characters, and then the same is true for this one. So in this case, we want the abbreviation to be that based on the rules. So another interesting input will have been the one for the intention, which we'll just go through it very quickly. So you have intention, and also we have intrusion. So we'll just come and put them here, and then you can look at them too. So for intention, we have I, and then we have 7 characters. So we'll have I7N, and then for intrusion, we'll have the same. So we'll have I, and then we'll have 7. So at this point, you see we have the same abbreviations for 2 letters, 2 strings. So it means that there's a conflict, and since there's a conflict, what we need to do is we need to increment the prefix or increment this left side. So we want to add n. So when we add n, you notice we remain with now 6. So instead of having 7, we have 6. Then for intrusion, the same. So when we have n and then we have 6, so now this is okay. Then we want to continue. So since we still have the same abbreviation, so we want to increment the prefix, so the first part. So here we want to add a t, and then we want to reduce the number of words that now we are going to remove. So here we will, you see, if we add the t, yeah, so sorry. I think I might have miscounted, but if we add the t, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5. So I'm just going to change it to 5. And then here, we also want to do the same. We want to add the t. And then when we add the t, now we remain with 5 items that we want to retain as part of the abbreviation. So since the abbreviation is still same, what we want to do is we want to add the next letter. So in this case, we add E. When we add E, we remain with 4 words that we will remove. And then here we want to do the same. So we want to add R, and then we'll remain with 4. So at this point, our abbreviations are unique. And since they're unique, we can return them. So others were like this one for God. So this one for God, we could have taken, according to the first rule, we will have begin with the first character, which is G, then the number of characters that we want to remove, which is 1, and then D, and then doing that, it breaks the last rule, which is the abbreviation. If it doesn't make it shorter, then we stick with it. So here it will have been God. Then going to me, we can just come and do that. So for me here, we have me. So if we were to do it, we will have add m, then we have e, then we add a 0. So as you see, this breaks the third rule. So it means we want to retain the original word. Then for internet, we can just come and do that. So for internet, the abbreviation is I, and then 6, and then t. So because as per now, we don't have a conflict, we'll just have it as that. For internal and interval, we already spoke about them. Then when you come to intention, we've just spoken about it. And then we have the one for face. So you can just also look at that. So we'll use the first rule. So using the first rule, we'll have F, and then we'll have 2, and then we'll have A. And then finally we have intrusion, which will have that. So okay, so I noticed we changed this place. So interval came after internal. So let me just change the space, the places. And then once I change the places, now we can look together. So you see for like we have L2E, and then for God we have the abbreviation God. Then internal is internal, then me is me. Then internet is I60, then interval is interval, then intention is ITE for N, then face is F2E, then finally we have this one. Okay, so let me just check the last one also. I think it's intention or intrusion. So for intrusion, we have that. Now that we know the rules, we want to create some variables that's going to help us do this question. So the first one will be our abbreviation dictionary. So this dictionary, it will have the type of where we'll have a key. So basically our key will be our abbreviation at that point. And then for its values, we'll want to have a list of the words that we're being given. So this is going to be our dictionary, the first dictionary that we want to create, which is just basically a data structure that holds the abbreviation and also a list of words with that abbreviation. Then the next one that you want to do is we'll want to create also another final dictionary. So for our final dictionary, what we'll want it to have as our key will be the word that we are being given and its abbreviation. And then the another thing that we'll want to have is we'll want to have a queue. So a queue will help us like when we keep on like increasing the prefix. So it will help us to track this which word we need to continuously map. So we'll have that. And then once we have a queue, then finally we can have our final variable, which will just be results, which will be a list that we want to return at the end of the day. So with all our variables, now we can start. So the first thing we want to do is we'll want to loop through our dictionary, no, through our list of words. And in their case, they call it dict. So loop through list of strings. It's called dict. Then once we loop, so we'll start at the first one, which is like. Then we want to get the abbreviation. Then once we get the abbreviation, we want to add it to our abbreviation dictionary. So we loop through the list. So when we are looping, so our second point, it's going to be inside the loop. So we get abbreviation of current word. And then once we get the abbreviation of current word, we want to add it to our abbrev dictionary. So at this point, our abbrev dictionary should look something like we have L to E as our key, and then we have like, so this is for the first iteration. Then for the next iteration, it should be God, and then we have God. And then for the third one, it should be I6L, and then we'll have internal. And then for the next iteration, it will be me, and then it will be me. So I forgot to put the words inside a list. So I'll quickly do that. So here it will be this and this, because as you could clearly see here, we said that our abbreviation, the key will be the abbreviation, and then the words will be in a list. So for me, I want to put it inside a list. Then I want to continue. So for internet, it will be I6T, and then it will also be inside a list. Then we want to do interval. So interval, since we already have I6L, we'll just have it here. And then we want to do for intention. So intention will be I7N. And then once we do for intention, we want to do for our face. So for face, it will be F2E. And then once we do for face, we also want to do for intrusion, which will be this one, I7N. So we'll add it here. So once we get the abbreviation for our B, so at the point that our loop ends, this is how our abbreviation D should look like. So once we have all these items in our dictionary, now the loop has ended. So we want to check like some of these items like since it's only one word with the abbreviation, we just want to put it inside our final dictionary. Then when you come to God, since it's also one, we'll want to put it that. So that's what you want to do. So we're going to loop through all the items inside our dictionary, and then these items, so like here we'll get the value, we check if the length is 1, we add it to our final dictionary. But if the length is not 1, then we want to add it to our queue so that we can continue like abbreviating it some more. So that's what we want to do. So for our step 3, as we have said, we loop through our dictionary. So loop through our abbrev dictionary. And then when we are looping through, what we've said we want to do is we want to check for the length. So we are looping through our abbreviation dictionary. Then we check if the length of the value is 1. If it is, then we want to add it to our final dictionary. And then if it's not 1, else, what we want to do is we want to add it to our final dictionary. No, else if it's not 1, then we want to add it to our queue. So we add it to queue. So when we start the loop, our final dictionary at this point will be, so we want to come, we start with the first one. Like has a length of 1. So since it has a length of 1, we want to have like, and then the key L2E as our first one. And then we want to go to the second one, which is God. So we want to have God. And then once we have God, then we want to have God because the length of its value is 1. So long as the length of the value is 1, we want to add it to our final D. Then when you come to internal, the length of this is 2. So since it's 2, we want to add it to our queue. So at this point, our queue, we should have, it should have something like I, then we had 6L, then we have internal, and then once we have that, then so this is for the first time. Then now we get also the one for interval, so we also want to add that. So we'll have I6L, and then we want to have our interval. Then we want to go to the next one. So in this case, our next one is me, but as you can clearly see, the length is 1. So we want to have me, and then we have me. Then the next one is I60, but you see that the length is 1. So it means we want to have internet, and then the abbreviation, which is I6 and T. Then we want to continue. So for this one, you see that the length is clearly 2. So since the length is clearly 2, we want to add them to our queue. So at this point, our queue should be I7N with intention, and then I7N with intrusion. So once we have all of this, so this is our queue at this point, and then this is our final dictionary at this point. So we are done with this, our third step. So since we are done with this, our third step, so now what we want to do is we want to check, we want to get the items from the queue. Then we want to, so okay, so at this point, if we don't have an item in the queue, it means that there's no conflict. So since there's no conflict, we can just go through our final dictionary and return those things inside there. But in our case, since we had the conflict, we want to keep on like working until the conflict isn't there. So probably we can create a variable. At this point, we want to create a variable, and then we can just call it like is conflict. So for our is conflict, we'll want to instantiate it as true. So once we instantiate it as true, we want the following steps to keep on repeating so long as that's true. So the first step is we want it to do what? We want to, so we want to, whenever we start, we want to mark it as false. So because during this step we hope to kind of fix the conflict issues. So we'll just mark it as false, and then in case we don't fix it, we'll return it to true. So once we've marked it as false, then we want to remove everything. We want to clear our abbreviation dictionary. So we want to clear everything. And then once we remove everything from our abbreviation dictionary, then we now want to start. So long as our queue isn't empty, so it means we want to loop as long as we have items in our queue. So I'm just going to do that. And then once we have everything in our queue, so what we want to do is, if we have an item in our queue, what we want to do is we want to get the abbreviation. Then once we get the abbreviation, the new abbreviation, then we want to add it to our dictionary. And then once we add it to our dictionary, we want to remove it from our we want to remove it from our queue. Then we want to add it to our dictionary. So that's all we are going to do. So here we are going to start here. We'll remove the first left item. Then once we remove it, we're going to get the next abbreviation. So in this case, our next abbreviation, it will have been IN5L, as we had previously discussed on the rules. So since this is our next abbreviation, we want to now add this one inside our abbreviation dictionary. And then, so we're going to add it as the key, and then the internal as its value. So that's what we want to do. So we loop through. Then here we want to pop. So pop off an item. Then once we pop off the item, then the next thing we want to do is we want to get the next abbreviation. So you can just say next abbreviation for it. Then once we get the next abbreviation for it, then sorry, I've mistaken my numbering. So we have 8, then we have 9, then finally we have 10. So we get the next abbreviation. Then once we get the next abbreviation, we want to add the abbreviation. So add the next abbreviation. We add our next abbreviation to our abbreviation. So as key, and then the value will be this one that we are at. So we can go through all these steps. We can now check the steps together. So here we say we create a variable is conflict true. Then we mark it as false. Then we want to remove everything from our abbreviation dictionary. Then we want to loop as long as we have items in our queue. So here we have our queue. So earlier on, our queue had 1, 6, this. So this is, we'll just get it quickly and then just paste it. So when we pop off, we'll remove this part. So this is this part here. So this is what we have at this spot. So we're going to get its next abbreviation. We said that the next abbreviation was IN5L. So this is our next abbreviation. And then once we get our next abbreviation, which is IN5L, then what we want to do is we want to add it inside our abbreviation dictionary. So at this point, our abbreviation dictionary should have IN5L, and then the value should be interval. So this is what we'll have. So it will do this for this one. Then once it's finished with this one, it's going to, so here we've already popped off this. So sorry, no, we had already removed it. So now we want to pop off this. So here we have this. Then we also want to do the same. We get the next abbreviation. So the next abbreviation will be I5L. Then it will be, I think the first one was internal. So we'll just do internal. And then now this one will be interval. So once we do the one for interval, so this is what we'll have here and then so we want to, so we finished and we've already added to our abbreviation. So it's going to come and pop off the next item. So this is going to be our next item. So this is our next item. Then it's going to get the abbreviation. So the abbreviation is basically IN6N. Then it's going to add it with the word to our abbreviation. So it will be IN6N. And then once it's that, then the value is our intention. And then once it does that, then it's done with this one. So again, it comes and it pops off this one. So we'll pop it off again. Then once we pop it off, we get the next abbreviation, which is I6N. Then we want to add the same to our dictionary. So here we'll have intrusion. So with this, we will be done with it. So once at this point now, we don't have anything in our queue. So we'll finish this. So once we finish that, then now we'll want to come to our step 11. So for our step 11, it will just be doing what we had in step 3. So we'll just have this part, but it's okay. We'll just come and we'll copy it because it's easier. So our step 11 will just be step 3. So I'll just do that. So our 11 will be equals to step 3. So we'll loop through our abbreviation dictionary. In case any of them has a value of 1, we want to add it to our final dictionary. If that's not the case, then what we want to do is we want to add it to our queue. So here, this is not the case. So our final dictionary will remain as it is. Then here for our queue now we'll have IN5L because like we are looping through this item. So it's going to come to the first one, get this part. So here it will be IN5L. Then here it's also going to be IN5L. And then here it will be IN6N, which it's going to get from our dictionary here. And then also this one is going to be IN6N. So it will do this until we'll have no items left. We'll have no items with a length of more than that. And then at the end of the day, what will happen is now we will come out of, so here when we are adding it to the queue, once we finish adding everything to the queue, we want to add another step where we mark our conflict as true because we found some that share the same abbreviation. So once we find that, then we want to come out of it. So that means that at this point now we'll come back to here on step 4. So once we come up to back to step 4, then what we can now currently do at this point, our final dictionary will looks like it will be this. So I'm just going to come and copy it. And then so once it's this way, so it will have this other one. So for internal, we know it's internal. So it will be internal. And then for interval, it will be interval. And then after interval, we have another one. So we have internal interval, then we have intention, and then we also have intrusion. But for intention and intrusion, we saw earlier that the last point will be here where we had intent for, and then intrusion will be this. So I'll just copy this, and for intent, so we'll have something like this. So this one is for, sorry, it's supposed to be the other way around. So here we'll have intrusion, and then our intention, which is inte for n. So we'll have this, and then this one will be for interval. So with this, we'll have this. So this is our, at this point, this will be our dictionary, And then now we'll want to loop through the list of strings that you were given earlier. So I'll just come and copy it. So at this point, we just want to do this. So you loop through this, and then when you loop through this, now you just add them to our res variable. So you just do res dot append. So we do, like, the first one was like on the left side. So here on the VS Code, the first one is like, so that's what you want to do. So you just come and do final D at like. So we just do final D dictionary, and then we do at like, and then we see it's L to E. So it means here our S will have L to E. And then we want to go to the next one, which is God. So for this one, it's going to be God. Then the next string is internal. So for internal is internal. So we do internal. Then we go to the next string, which is me. So for me, the value is me. So it will be me. Then for internet, the value is I60. So it will be I60. Then we continue. So here it will be I60. Then after that, we have interval. So it will be interval. Then after that, we have intention. So for intention, our value was inte for n. So we'll have this. And then we had the next one is face, and then intrusion. So for face, the value for face is, okay, so we didn't add it, but our face was f to e, so it was face, and then the value was f to e. So here we'll just have f to e, and then finally we'll have int for n. So this is what we want to return as our answer. So with this, we will get the function, and then we will write the code. So I'll just come back here and copy the function declaration. And then once I copy it, I'll make now this one bigger. And then I'll save this, and then I'll split it to the right. And then once I split it now, I'll just come here and do that. So probably the only thing that we'll want to do is from collections, we are going to import a deck so that we can have our queue. So I'll just come and do that. And then once we do that, we can quickly look through everything. So as we said, the first thing we want to do is want to loop through the list of strings. So we can just do for word indict. So with this, we want to do it. So for word indict, so yeah, that's what you had. Oh, sorry, I forgot. So the step 0 first was having the variables defined. So even before that, we want to define the variables. So I'll just come and copy them because I don't want to type them again. So I'll just come and do that. So here we have abbreviation, then we have our final, and then we have our queue, and then we have our res. So this is what you want to have. So here we don't want to have this, so we'll have remove it for now. So here we just want to, this one was just supposed to like give us the structure of whatever we were having. So we're going to have this. So we want to start. So we want to start with for our word in dictionary. And then so we're looping through the list of strings, which was called dict. And then we want to get the abbreviation of the current word. So we want to define that function. So here we can just come and do, yeah, we can just do abbreviation is equals to get abbreviation. So we can define it as a method of the class. So we can just come and do self, and then here we can just copy it for ease. So we can define it. So it will be def this, and then here we want to return something. So this one was the first part. So this one was on rule 1, where you take the first letter as the prefix, then the last letter as the suffix, then the two items that you want to remove as the number of items to remove. So that's what you want to do. So you want to do prefix. So we said our prefix should be a word at index 0. So it means that we will need to pass in a word here. And then once we do that, then we want to do num remove. So these are the number of characters that we will remove. So basically here it's 2. We can get this 2 by also getting the length of the string and then subtracting 2 from it. So it will be length of word minus 2. And then for our suffix, it's going to be the last letter on our word. So we can just do that word and then we do -1. So this is basically our suffix. Then here we want to do prefix, and then we want to do num. So we have two ways of doing this. The easiest way is we can just decide to have a prefix, num remove. So instead of having this as a string, we can just do it as a tuple to make the work easier. So that's what we're going to do for now. So here we can have the num remove, and then finally we can have the suffix. So that's going to be our abbreviated one. So here we have this. So since it's a member of the class, it will be self dot that, and then we don't want to pass in self, we want to pass in the word that's coming here when you are looping. So we've done the first part, which is to get the abbreviation of our current word. Then we've added it to our abbreviation. So once this loops completes, we expect it to be this way, and then that's the first part. So no, we haven't added it, sorry. So I'm just going to add it quickly. So to add it, we'll just do this, and then we wanted to add the abbreviation as the key, so we can just do this. And then Python allows us to kind of check inside a dictionary if you have it. If you have it, then it's just going to add, but if it doesn't, you can specify something as default. So for in our case, we wanted to specify the empty list, which is in accordance to the value that we provided here in line 15. So with that, we want to also add the word so that we can have this. So this is this. And then at this point, if we were to run this function up to this point, so our abbreviation dictionary on the left here will look like this. So yeah, with that, we are done with number 1 and 2. So we want to come to step 3. So step 3 is just looping through the abbreviation D, and then we want to check if the length of the value is 1. If it is, we want to add it to the final dictionary. So here we check here in the dictionary that we had above, like what's the length of the value. So here the length of this one is 1, so we add it to our final dictionary. So that's what we want to do. So we'll just loop through. So we'll just do for we have the key and then the value, so we can just do for kv in abrvd dot items. And then once we do that, so we check if the length of v, so we can just do if len of v is equals to 1. So in this case it is, so we want to add, so we just come and do final d at the current, because we want the abbreviation, no, we want the word first, so we'll get v at 0. So you see here our like is in the v, and then the index is at index 0, so that's why we do v0. And then we are going to use the same structure for Python, where if we don't have it, then no, actually we don't need to do this structure, because for the final one it should always be like one item. So since it's one item, we will just do the key like that, and then we are done with that. And then so we've done this part here, so that's step 4. And then now we want to do step 5, which is add it to the queue. So if it's not, so we're going to do an else. Then we want to do queue dot append. And then we want to look at the structure. So in our case, we appended the abbreviated word and then the word that we have. So, but you remember where we had like the values as internal, we did for I6L internal, then we did this. So it means we want to loop, we get the first word, then we add it to the queue, then we loop again, we get the next word and add it to the queue. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do for val in v, and then we want to come and do that. So we just want to do queue.append, and then we want to append our key and our val. So with this, we are done with steps 3 up to 5. So once we are done with that, now we can continue. So we can just come and now go to step 4, which is creating a variable is conflict. So I'll just come and do that. So for our conflict, we want to start it as false, and then we'll just loop so long as, no, sorry, we said that we always want to instantiate it with true. So sorry about that. So here we'll want to do true, and then we want to loop so long as there's a conflict. So you can just come and do while it's in conflict. Then always, because if we run through this loop, we expect to resolve the conflict. So here we want to mark it at false, but in case we don't resolve it, we'll mark the conflict as true, as you will see. So once we do that, then now we want to remove everything from our abrv. So there's so many ways of doing it in Python. For now, we can just do this. And then once we do this, then now we want to start. So we're going to loop as long as we have items in the queue. So you can just do while queue. And then once we do that, we're going to pop off an item. So you can just call the item that we pop off, we can just call it pop L is equals to our queue dot pop left. Yeah, so once we pop off the item, then we want to get the next abbreviation. So we can just call here next abbreviation, and then we've said we're going to define the function. So it's going to be get next abbreviation. Yeah, so once we do this, then okay, so let's just go and define this function, and then we can come back. So for this function, it will just be almost like the first one. The only difference is we'll also want to pass in the abbreviated. So we want to have these abbreviations, and then also we want to pass in the word. So this will be the only difference. So for now, I'll copy this. And then as I'm doing this, I've remembered that we also, like when you're getting the abbreviation, we don't want to get the abbreviation for letters such as God, since God is like 3, and the abbreviation will have been G1D, which is 3. So we don't want to do that. Or for me, because the abbreviation will be M3E. So we just want to do if the length of the word. So you can just come and do if length of word is less than 4. So like if it's 3 like God, we just want to return the word. So here we can just do return word. And then if that's not the case, then continue. So for this one, for getting the next abbreviation, we want to have the same thing. But here, what we want to do is we want to check. So if at any point our abbreviation is equals to the word that we want to abbreviate, or if at any point, like here where we were doing I6, I5, like that. So if it at any point that number reaches 2, so this number that you are removing, if at any point it reaches 2, because if we do 2 minus 2, it's 0, we want to stop and return just the word. So we can just do AB. rv at index 1 is equals to 2. Then we want to return our word. And then if that's not the case, then we want to do that. So for our prefix right now, what we can do is we can have the prefix that's coming inside our abbreviation. So we can just come and do abbreviation that we are coming at the first index, which is at index 0. And then if we do that plus the length of its length, this should give us the new word. So I'm just going to do this with you guys so that you can also be able to see. So here we had I6L. So when we did I6L, we abbreviated it. So right now the abbreviation is I6L. So as we've said, we first check. So our abbreviation is I6L. It's not equals to internal. So since it's not equals to, then it will go to the next condition. Is this one? This one is 6. Is this 6 equals to 2? No, it's not equals to 2. So it means line 67 won't run. So we'll find the prefix. The prefix is just what's coming in our abbreviation. So in this case, our abbreviation at index 0, which is I. So whatever's coming there is I. So it's going to get to the I. Then we want to add. So what's its length? So in this case, the length is 1. So get that and also get the word at index 1. So in this case, the word at index 1 for internal, it's n. So it's going to get that. So now our new prefix will be in. So that's what we are just doing here. And then here, the number removed. So here, we were doing the length word minus 2. Right now, what we can do is, since we know that number 6 is coming in as the next item, we can just get it and then we subtract 1. Sorry. So I just come here and get it. So it will be abrv at index 1. And then what we want to do is we want to subtract 1 because we've added, like when we add n, so it means we will only be removing the next 5 items. So that's why we subtract 1. And then the suffix will still be our last letter. So this will be how we'll be getting the next abbreviation. So true to that, we want to pass that. So we've said that when we pop the queue, we said that when we're adding items to the queue, we can come and check. Yeah, we had the abbreviation and we also add the word. So right now, the first item is the abbreviation. So we can just come and do pop L at index 0, which is the first item. Then our next item is at index 1. So this is going to be give us the next abbreviation. So once we get the next abbreviation, we want to add the next abbreviation to abbreviation D as the key. Then the value will be the word. So this is what we want to do. So we want to come and we want to do abbreviation D. Sorry. Yeah, at next abbrev. Yeah, so it's going to be self dot abbreviation D. Yeah, sorry. I was supposed to use get. No, it's okay. Sorry, I shouldn't be using self. Yeah, so we're going to do this dot get. So we're going to get next abbreviation. So if we can find it, then that's okay. But if we can't find it, we want to do this. And then we want to add our word, which is just basically pop L at 1. So here we are telling it to check inside our dictionary. So if we have the next abbreviation, which is IN5L, if that exists, then you just add whatever we have to the value list. But if it doesn't, then add it to our abbreviation dictionary. So that's that. Then once it's add, yes, that's all. So here we have this, then we have this, then we have this. So here we are done with step 7. So it's just popping an item, getting the next abbreviation, adding it, the next abbreviation as key, and then value will be the word. And then at this point, once the loop ends, the queue will be empty. And then this is what we'll have in our abbreviation. So now we are done with our queue, so we can come out. So here we want to repeat step 3, which was basically looping through the abbreviation dictionary. So here is the step 3. So I'm just going to come and copy it. And then once I copy it, I'm just going to indent this and also this and this and this and this. So we've done that. Then yeah, so here we loop through abbreviation dictionary. Then we check if the length of the value is 1. If it is, we add it to the final dictionary. If it's not, then we want to add it to our queue. And then the moment we've added it to our queue, we want to mark that there's a conflict. You remember how we said that we hope to resolve the conflict in that call, but when it reaches this point, it means that there's a conflict because here we've added it to our queue. And then since there's a conflict, we want to try and abbreviate it again. So this will happen. So we've done that. So at this point, once we come out of this our loop, so we'll be here at this point. What happens is now our final dictionary will look like this. And then now we just want to loop through our list of strings. And then once we loop through that, we want to add them to our res. And then finally want to return our res. So I'm just going to do that. So we're going to do for so I can just call it item, but let me just call it word forward in our dict above. So we just want to do okay, so we want to add the abbreviation, so we can just come and do abbreviation. So okay, so one thing here, we were using the strings because we could see them visually, but at this point, as you guys you've noticed, we are using tuples. So since we are using tuples, we want to make sure that we don't have them. When we want to add the abbreviation, we want to convert them to strings. So to do that, we want to loop through the tuples. So we just want to do for I in our final dictionary, and then the word. So here, for example, our final dictionary, we get the word, our word is like. So we come and we look at like. So when you look at like, we will see L2E. So the thing is, this L is a string, the 2 is a number, the E is a string. So since that's the case, we want to convert everything to a string. So I'll just do string at I. And then once we do that, then we want to use join. So we just do dot join. And then once we do this, yes, so we do this. So this one will give us our abbreviation, and we can add it to our res. And then once we done that, then at the end of the day, we just want to return res. And then we want to test to see if it works. So we just do s is equals to solution. And then once we do that, we want to do print. And then we want to do, s dot word abbreviation. And then we want to get the input, which we have basically here. And then once we have this, we want to run. And then hopefully if we don't have an error, it should work. So it's complaining that object has no attribute pop left. So I'm just going to check here. Sorry, I was supposed to use a deck. I didn't change there. Sorry about that because we imported it. I thought that I changed the same. So I'm just going to let it run. And then now, as you can clearly see, we have our answers, which is L2E, then we have God, then we have internal, me, then we have I60, then you have internal bar, then this one, then F2E, then intrusion. So with that, I'm just going to uh, yeah to cut everything and try and copy on the other side and see if it passes. So I'll just remove this and then I'll just copy, and then we can run the test and then try and submit. So so far it's accepted. So since it's accepted, we're just going to try and submit and see. Yay! Yeah, fast. So thank you guys for listening. Yeah, bye.